Pokemon cards right now are in such a high demand period, and we've had so many new things come in, which has brought in so much demand. And like we've got Pokemon TCG Pocket, along with Surging Sparks being so hard to find, Prismatic Evolutions pretty much selling out on pre-orders, and we're also getting Pokemon 151 coming back with Blooming Waters in 2025. And I know so many newcomers are entering the hobby, and I just gotta say, welcome aboard, because I think you're in such an exciting time to be involved with the hobby at the moment. I think there's so much cool things happening, and it is a very in-demand time. And one thing that I want to talk about today, especially, and I'm kind of excited about it, though it's pretty good to see as well, because we have so much hype with Terrestrial Festival, Prismatic Evolution, Surging Sparks, all these new things coming out. It does feel like Pokemon 151 has taken a little bit of a brake pedal to calm it down, which kind of it needed, because before all these announcements got made, Pokemon 151 was going out of control. But I'm going to be taking you through that in today's video to show you how Pokemon 151 is slowly getting a brake pedal. Though one question that we kind of have to ask ourselves is, how sustainable is it for Pokemon to have to release an even better set to calm demand of current sets? Because that's kind of what's happening, right? We had Pokemon 151 being so much in demand, and because Surging Sparks sold out straight away, and this whole frenzy kind of happened, it helped calm Pokemon 151 down. And now because Prismatic Evolutions is getting so hard to find, and all these Evolution SIRs are coming out, and people are wondering, whoa, I want to buy that, it's kind of helping calm Pokemon 151 down. But it's kind of like, do we need an even better set to release in like March or April of 2025 to calm Prismatic Evolutions down? These are pretty interesting things that are happening, and it's definitely not a sustainable approach. But again, we are always leveling up, and it's kind of making the game be much more interesting because the quality that's coming out is really good. Now also guys, if it is your first time on this channel, my name's Phil. I am a marketing professional that runs this Pokemon collecting and investing YouTube channel. I try to use a bit of my marketing knowledge and apply it to the world of collectibles. If you are new here, please feel free to subscribe. I'd honestly love to have you on board the channel. Now, here we go. We've got Blooming Waters coming out early 2025. I do think that that's going to get sold out very quickly. I don't think you're going to have that much of an easy time getting it. Truth be told, before this whole Pokemon TCG Pocket hype that came about, I would have thought that maybe it would be not that crazy difficult to get. But because the hype is so high at the moment, I do think Pokemon 151 Blooming Waters will be a little bit hard to obtain. And that's something, we just can't do anything about that, right? We're just in such a high period. One thing that's confusing me right now, and I have to be real with you, is just, I don't know how collectors can keep up with all the new quality that's coming out and being able to buy all of that. I mean, if you look at some of the chase cards of Surging Sparks, they're super expensive. That Pikachu is climbing really expensive. And then of course, Prismatic Evolutions is coming out. A lot of people are going to want to collect that. And of course, 151, a lot of people still want to get their master sets of that, right? Though really interesting things with the prices of 151. I want to take you through that today. So the first one I'm on is the Pokemon 151 Elite Trainer Box, right? We can see that this was rising quite well. So I'm just on the year graph. I just want to take you through it, right? So you can see earlier this year, it was selling for around 53 USD per ETB, standard pricing, pretty normal, right? Then you can see it kind of went here, and then this is kind of when this hype started building around August to September this year, and you can see it went to 73 USD all the way up to around 100. Now I'm going to pull that in the 3 months, and you can see that it's kind of, the demand has kind of not gone so high. With how it was going, I thought that this would have climbed to 120, 130 USD per ETB, but you can see with the Blooming Waters coming out, a few more products coming out, Prismatic Evolution, Surging Sparks, it's not rising as quick as anticipated. And it's kind of very good that Surging Sparks got released along with Prismatic Evolutions getting announced, because it helped calm this down a little bit. Same thing here when we go to the booster bundles. You can see these are very in demand. Reason why people love booster bundles, right? On release day when they came out, they were technically the cheapest cost per pack ratio you could get for Pokemon 151. The only issue was they were very hard to find. So if you could get booster bundles for retail price, they were definitely the cheapest option you had of opening 151. Though of course, that's kind of changed now because they're quite hard to find. But you can see it still has gone up. So 41 USD, it's now selling for 60 USD. So these are always going to be in demand because they're a little bit of a collectible as well, because the booster bundles were always so hard to find. If we pull that in the year graph as well, you can definitely see that they were selling for around 32 USD to 36 USD earlier this year. And of course, they're now selling for 60 USD. Now, mind you, 36 USD is still quite a nice price for a booster bundle, but that's because a lot of people wanted them, right? They were just very, very popular. Don't forget, another reason why the 151 booster bundles was so popular is because they were easy to store, right? With an ETB or an ultra premium collection, they take up a lot of real estate to store. They were in high demand for the people who liked investing in collectibles as well. Moving on as well to the 151 Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box. As you can see in that last 3 months, it's kind of had a little bit of a slowdown here. Hasn't actually gone down in value at all, and I highly doubt this is going to go down at all, but it has kind of just flatlined a little bit for the time being. You can see right now that's selling for 220 USD per ETB, and you can see as well still sitting there. If we pull that in the year graph, you can see that's had an enormous amount of growth and it's kind of calmed down. Now again, if you are new here, this is a Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box. The reason why Pokemon Center products are so unique is because the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box contains 2 promo cards inside. You get the standard promo card. You also get a Pokemon Center stamped version of the promo card. Makes it very collectible, very investable. A lot of people love collecting these because they are less prone to reprints, and along they usually get better prices and they're very in demand. Don't forget that Snorlax promo inside this Pokemon 151 ETB is incredibly expensive as well. So it is a very much in demand set. I don't think that this is going to go down anytime soon, given the fact of how popular it is. Though more interesting is some of the singles of Pokemon 151. So I'm on the Charizard right now. Now you can see that this was sitting around September for 122 US, peaked at around 210, and you can see now it's sitting around that 200, 193 mark. I'm going to pull that in the 1 month graph, and you can see it's kind of not rising as it was going. It had this huge boom, and now it's kind of just finding its feet a little bit in the market. I do think because there's so much things happening, right? You got Surging Sparks being hard to find. A lot of people want Surging Sparks. You got Prismatic Evolutions on the way, and then we've got Blooming Waters coming out. I do think the market is just saying, hey, we're going to just wait and see what's going to happen before we overload too heavy on 151. I think a lot of people don't want to overspend at the moment, and I think because this is what I'm doing, I'm really excited for Prismatic Evolutions, so I'm not going to be buying 151 singles at the moment because I'm so excited for Prismatic Evolutions. I really want to get into that set. Same with Terrestrial Festival, right? Though I do think right now, while it's kind of a quiet period and there's so much happening, Christmas is on the way, I do think this is a cool time to load up on some 151 singles. I think you've got a little bit of an opportunity, right? Moving forward, we can also see the Blastoise. Again, this had a pretty big price growth. I'm going to just pull that in the year graph. You can see this was selling around April this year for 41 USD, and you can see, look how high that spiked all the way to 78 USD, and right now it's selling for 67. We pull that in the last month, and you can see it's just slowly tapering off a little bit. I don't think this is going to drop that much. I do think that the market is just calming down. I almost feel that this is like a pause. Right now is the pause. What happens after Blooming Waters will be interesting. It's very likely that prices may go down a little bit because traditionally that's what happens. But then again, we don't know how much Blooming Waters product is going to get released as well. So that's also something we have to keep in mind, right? Moving forward is the Venusaur. As you can see on the 6 month graph, this had a huge spike sitting at 43 USD, went all the way to 79 USD, and you can see now it's just going down a little bit, sitting at 66 USD. Pull that in the 1 month graph. Not a crazy drop down in value. It's just a little bit, gone from 73 USD, sitting at 65. Just like I said, I think it's that little bit of a pause in the market where collectors are kind of finding their feet to see what happens with Blooming Waters. Now, when we're looking at some of the illustration rares from 151, they're actually getting quite good prices for illustration rare standards. You can see this Squirtle right now is selling for 41 USD. If we pull that in the year graph, the cheapest you were able to get that in the last year is for 22 USD. So again, you can see right there when we're looking at that, that's had a pretty nice growth as well, almost doubling in value. Same thing happens when we look at the Charmeleon, which is actually one of the more expensive illustration rares. You can see in June this year selling for 19 USD, and you can see right now selling for 30 USD. Again, cool card. I think the Charizard line is fantastic, but then again, the Charmeleon is just holding its price at the moment as well. Same thing when we look at the Bulbasaur. We can see that the Bulbasaur, we pull that in the year graph, you can see it was selling for around 19 USD, right now selling for 36 USD. The last 3 months has had a little bit of a growth, but then again, it's just pausing at the moment as well. And same thing goes with the Charmander. Now, the Charmander is actually quite interesting because it's selling for 44 USD for a near mint copy for an illustration rare. Quite good pricing for illustration rare standards. We pull that in the year graph. And you can see in the last year, the cheapest that this was around 23 USD, and right now selling for 44 USD. Again, if we pull that in the 3-month graph, you can see just that stabilization happening. I do think a lot of people are just waiting to see what happens with Pokemon 151. Though as interesting as this is, there's a lot happening with Pokemon at the moment, and a lot of people are wondering, why has Pokemon boomed so much in popularity recently? Well, I do actually answer that question right within this video on screen right here. Within this video, I explain actually what's going on with Pokemon cards at the moment and why this new demand has came about. If you're interested in that video, click that video that's appearing on screen and I'll see you there.